So it's been mixing for about 2 minutes on second speed, and you can see that it is starting to clean the bowl. That's one of the steps. As gluten develops, it gets stronger and it starts to be more cohesive and elastic, and the dough will start to clean the bowl. With that in mind, I'm going to check this dough when I know that it's not ready yet. It's not even smooth, actually. It's got quite a long way to go. But when I grab it, it actually doesn't even feel smooth. I can feel that some of the ingredients, perhaps the sugar and some of the yeast, have not dissolved yet. It tears very easily, and it's just not smooth. I mean, it's progressing, but it's nowhere near smooth. So since I've stopped it to check it, I'm going to pull it down from the hook. The nice thing about the KitchenAid hook, you may be using a different type of mixer, is it has this big round top, and that keeps the dough from climbing the hook and going into the machine. So this is a real important part, but it's still a good idea on this mixer to stop it occasionally, pull it down, and then continue. So I'm going to continue mixing it on second speed, and I'll stop periodically with progress. I've now been mixing it for another 3 minutes on the second speed, and you can see that it's smoother and it is becoming more cohesive. I'm able to stretch this more now. It still tears a little more than I'd like, but it is becoming more cohesive as the gluten develops. So I'm just showing you the progress. It's not ready yet, but it's going in the right path, on the right path. Okay, so I will be continuing on the second speed. Okay, the dough's been mixing for about 3 more minutes. So I'd like to show you what I'm looking for. I'm going to grab a piece off, and you should notice that it's more difficult to pull it off of the main dough. It also doesn't stick to my hands as much, and if I gently pull it in all directions, it's very easy to tear the dough. It's more difficult to not tear the dough, to see how far you can stretch it before it tears. It is almost ready. You can see it's much more extensible. I can see my fingers through the dough, although it's not quite smooth. So I'm going to mix it for another probably 1 to 2 minutes. If you are using a different mixer, even a KitchenAid that's not the same as my KitchenAid, the speeds will be slightly different, even if it says low speed or the next speed. So it's more important to know what the dough looks like. So probably going to mix it for 1 to 2 more minutes, and then I'll be done. Okay, my dough has been mixing for about another minute, and it's getting smoother. You can actually hear the difference in the dough, because as it's mixing, you'll periodically hear it slapping against the bowl as it starts to go up the hook and then come back down. So I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to just show you again the difference that another minute of mixing made. I'm stretching it, and I'm hoping that you're able to see the difference. I'm able to stretch it, and I'm able to stretch it very thin and see my fingers, but the whole network of gluten is smoother. It's not quite as patchy as it was a minute or so ago. Okay, so you should really practice making this gluten window. This is an intensive mix, so we're trying to get full gluten development or close to full gluten development on the mixer. So I'm now going to put the dough in the bowl for fermentation. It's going to ferment close to an hour and a half probably. I'll take a look at it halfway through and see if we need to fold it. I have a bowl here for fermentation. It has a very little bit of oil. Do not put a lot of oil in there, just a very little bit of oil, about a half a teaspoon perhaps. And then I'm going to rub it all around. And using my scraper, I'm going to transfer it to the bowl. Now it's very important that I know the temperature. You're going to need to refer to your module for directions on desired dough temperature. My desired dough temperature, I think I didn't get to the middle. My desired dough temperature on this dough is 78 degrees, and I'm pretty close. I have 77.5, so it's fairly amazing. I had more than 30 degrees of friction, and I ended up pretty close to my desired dough temperature. But that, you definitely want to check that out in the module about how to achieve the correct dough temperature, because that's what it's all about. We want to keep the yeast moving at the correct pace. So we'll come back to the dough when it's fermented. I should show you that it's important to keep the dough moist. So we are going to cover this very tightly with plastic wrap. If you see, I chose a bowl that is more than twice as big as the dough, so the dough can rise without sticking to the plastic. Okay, it should be close to the plastic when it's time to deal with it. Double in size is what we want.